Hello everyone, and it's time to do another 1080p budget 1080p 60 FPS PC build. This time we're going to go for Intel slash AMD, or Intel slash Nvidia, sorry, and we'll see if we can get close to or better than the price that we paid. 599 is what that PC build came to for the Ryzen 5 and the RX 570. So we're going to take a look at the Intel equivalent, starting with the CPU. Now the CPU we have chosen is the Intel Core i5 7500, runs at 3.4 gigahertz. It is 4 cores, 4 threads. It is a quad core processor. It has a max turbo frequency of 3.8 gigahertz. If you want to know, it is the Kaby Lake 7500. Doesn't overclock. That is the only thing we'd say against it in comparison to the AMD Ryzen 5, what was it, 1500X that we went for there. £173. It is slightly cheaper, but not by much than the 1500X. You're talking under £10. That was £182. This is £173, so not a huge difference in the price there. For the motherboard, we have chosen the Gigabyte GA-B250M DS3H Micro ATX LGA 1151 motherboard. Jesus Christ, we need better motherboard naming conventions. This costs you £66. It is the B250 chipset. Again, we don't need the Z170 chipset. Save us a little bit of money there. Not an overclocking CPU, so we don't need a motherboard that can overclock. It does support DDR4, only 2400 megahertz in comparison to the AM4 board that we chose. It does have 4 RAM slots. It does have SATA 6 gigabit. Onboard Ethernet, onboard USB 3 headers, everything that you need. Doesn't support overclocking, but then again, neither does the CPU, so we're just spending extra money for nothing. At £66, it is slightly cheaper than the AM4 board. It is a Kaby Lake. The 250 is generally the Kaby Lake ones. The B150 is the Skylake ones. So they need a firmware upgrade in order to run Kaby Lake. So unless you already have a Skylake CPU, because you have to have a CPU in to run the firmware update. If you already have a Skylake CPU, you could buy a B150, but if you don't have a Skylake CPU, you're going to have to buy the 250 or even the 270, what is it, the Z270X, if you're going down the overclocking route. I've confused myself with too much terminology there. For the RAM, we have gone for the G-Skill Ripjaws 4 series, 8GB, 24GB, DDR4 at 2400 megahertz, slightly slower than the RAM that we went for before at 2800 megahertz. However, 2400 megahertz is the maximum that the motherboard supports. Cost us £59.30. We could have saved a bit of money and gone for the £50 2800 megahertz ones. It'll only run at 2400 though. You can put RAM that's rated faster into a slower motherboard as long as it's the same type, as long as it's DDR4. It will only run at the fastest that the motherboard supports. Okay, so it'll only run at 2400 there. So you could put 2800 and it might save you a little bit of money there, but it's the same. Shouldn't make too much of a difference overall in terms of gameplay, in terms of gaming. This is a gaming build, but 2400 versus 2800, it shouldn't make a huge difference overall. For the hard drive, we've gone for the same Seagate Barracuda 1TB drive, $37.99, pretty much the same. Graphics card, we have gone for the GeForce GTX 1060 3GB. We've gone for the Gigabyte one. It is £181. Again, it has 1GB less of VRAM, slightly more expensive than the RX 570, and has 1GB less of VRAM. Performance-wise, they're very, very similar to the RX 570. So you're not really gaining or losing much. You could argue which one is better, really. It comes down to cost. I would prefer the RX 570 It has an extra gig of VRAM and it costs less. Simply, in performance difference, there's not a huge difference for the case and the power supply. Again, we just gone for the same, the Thermaltake versus the H15 Micro ATX mid-tower case. Got everything you need. Again, £31.97. And for the motherboard, we've gone for the EVGA 500 watt 80 plus. It's not bronze certified, I know, but it is a bit cheaper. You're looking at £60 for the bronze certified one. This one should still get the job done. Total power draw is only 270 watts. I think it was 300 watts was the AMD build. So again, power draw slightly favors the Intel, but not a huge difference. Now, total cost of this build is £589.97. So very, very competitive for a £600 budget. We're in there. We're on the money there. Pretty nice, actually. We'll do again most games at 1080p and 60 FPS. Now, what we're going to do here, we'll do a comparison to our AMD build. Alright, so we're going to take a quick comparison of our Intel budget build and our AMD budget build. So this is the PC part picker page that you're taking a look at. Total is $589.87 for that. You're getting a GTX 1060 3GB and a Core i5 7500. If you compare it to our Ryzen build, the price has dropped on this. Interestingly enough, the Radeon RX 570 4GB has, yeah, it's gone down 185 it was. It was on Amazon before, £164. You could pre-order it. That's pretty decent. You can also get, there's MSI ones for 185. I wouldn't bother with the 580 4GB, to be honest with you. I think that if you're getting a 580, get the 8GB one. But the 8GB one, you know, 169 versus 160, it's like £100 of a difference, almost, near enough. 570, the MSI gaming one, 198. I don't know when these come out. It just says pre-order this, so I think it's not a bad buy, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a bad buy for the money there. I think it's fairly decent. RX 570 card can match the 480 in a lot of games. Again, can mostly match them. The Ryzen 5 has dropped down 182 it was. It's down to 179, so 582 versus 589. There's really very little difference. Now, the advantages of the Intel one are that it is slightly more power efficient, you could argue. The Ryzen 5 one, though, has overclocking, faster RAM, and an extra 1GB of VRAM as well there for your money there. So interesting. It's an interesting build there for the £600, 1080p, 60 FPS. You've got good choice. I think that's a decent choice. I did try to, we'll take a look at, I did try to squeeze a 6600K into that build. Too expensive. Bear in mind, you've got to buy a cooler and you have to buy a more expensive motherboard. There was my Revan build. I'll show you how much that has gone up to. £1,000. Jesus, that's gone up to £1,000. That one. Look at the RAM cost. I paid £55 for that RAM a year ago. It's 120 quid. It's doubled in price. I only paid 60 quid for that Corsair H60 cooler. The i5 6600K, it's only slightly more expensive than the 7500K. Bear in mind, you can overclock that. However, you are going to need a Z170 motherboard and a cooler. Now, you don't really need a liquid cooler. You're not going to need like a AIO water cooler. You could get away with something like a, what was it called? The Hyper 212 Evo. That if you have no creativity, every PC builder goes for that. But God's sake, the R9 390X is still there. I wonder what would happen if we put a, I don't have that Toshiba drive anymore. I've got a 3TB drive in it now. Ooh, that's expensive. That's quite expensive. I think it was only like 900 odd pounds in total. I built it over a few years, mind you. We bought the parts over a few years, so I think it was over about a 7-8 month period actually, rather than a few years. But my God, what has happened to the cost of RAM? What has gone wrong there? But anyway, back to the Intel one. So there you go. You got your Intel one. Personally, I would be tempted to go with the i5 7500, the i5 7500, and we'll try that with add a video card with the RX 570 164. We'll add that. That was the one that we had. Yeah, 573. That's the one I'd go for personally. I'd maybe look at that one. Although, you know, teaming the Intel with the AMD card is not a bad option. Saves you even more money. 573 drops the price down. Again, you're going to get fairly similar performance. I don't think that performance is going to be hugely different between all three of those PCs. I think it will do a solid 1080p 60 FPS, high to ultra settings in most games. Okay, you will get the odd anomaly where it won't run due to bad ports or whatever, but I still think for the money, PC gaming is looking pretty good. I mean, Xbox Scorpio, we haven't seen the prices yet, and if you don't really care about 4K, then, you know, Xbox Scorpio could be around, I'd say probably 400 to 500, so for maybe a little bit more than an Xbox Scorpio, you could get yourself a decent mid-range gaming PC. But again, we'll wait to see. We'll wait for June to see the price of the Xbox Scorpio. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you again soon, and goodbye.